Hey, friends. Welcome to, it's Prince Spaghetti Day. It's Wednesday. Welcome. So great to see everybody today. My name is April Woodcock, and today we're going to be talking about an introduction to AI marketing with Constant Contact. I want to make sure this is being recorded. We are streaming to a few different platforms this morning. So as you have questions, please drop it in the chat. I'm happy to answer all of your questions at the end. This again is Introduction to AI Marketing with Constant Contact. And I will let you know that there will be an offer at the end. No hard selling here, just an offer to give Constant Contact a try. Or if you're already trying it out, would love to hear your feedback because the things that I'm going to show you today are the AI capabilities that are in Constant Contact. So let me share my screen here and let's get started. All right. So my name is April Woodcock. I own a digital marketing agency here in southeastern Connecticut in a small town called Voluntown. A lot of people know of Mystic or maybe Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. I'm also on the Rhode Island border, so kind of middle of nowhere, close to everywhere. I have been a Constant Contact partner and authorized local expert for about 17 plus years. So I've been using Constant Contact. Not only do I use it in my own business, but I use it with other businesses. But I'm very familiar and well-versed in email marketing, marketing automation, and kind of all things digital marketing. So I'm really excited to kind of get started and share with you a little bit about AI marketing and how Constant Contact has really kind of redone, upgraded their interface to help you to be more efficient. So, when you think about kind of AI and how it's being used, I feel like we've been hammered over the head the past few years with it. And as business owners, it's really hard to kind of swim through the noise of it, right? Or how do we use it and what's the best way for us to use it? But in your marketing plan, you can use it in very different ways. You can use it from lead generation. You can help personalize your customer experiences. It helps with predictive analytics. You also can manage customer service with chatbots or virtual assistants that can also help you to create FAQs for your business so people can get questions answered more readily without actually having to talk to you first. Helps with advertising campaigns, both on social media, as well as it helps with Google Ads. I'm not sure if any of you have used those. Content creation, brand development, all things that you can think of, and automated repetitive tasks. So the big thing that it definitely helps, and I know that as a marketer, I use this all the time, and kind of when I'm not in the Constant Contact tool, kind of two of the tools that I use for other idea gathering for content marketing is I have a paid version of ChatGPT, and I also use Magi. Now, that's just two to name a few. There's also Gemini with Google in your business suite. There's also, if you're in the Microsoft interface, you also have access to there. Notebook LM is another part of the Google suite. But what it really does is kind of taking the tool that's good for you, and also here within Constant Contact, it helps you to kind of automate some of your content practices. It allows you to, if you have a blog post, to come up with some easy to read kind of creating that FOMO content for people to click on to read your blog. Definitely helps with social media captions and hashtags. Emails have never been easier in kind of developing them. And as somebody that's been using, again, email marketing for over 17 years, sometimes it's hard to come up with new, fresh ideas with email marketing. It definitely can help with proofread. I'm a huge fan of Grammarly. And believe it or not, a lot of these tools, we've already been using them. They weren't at the forefront of AI, right? That word AI and kind of what it was. So I've been using Grammarly for years. It has that AI capability. Even if you think about it kind of from word perspective, it's not labeled as AI, but like even spell check, that's a form of helping us to be more productive and be better in the things that we're doing. It also can definitely make you get to know a little bit about your work ethics and your personality of how you're driving your business, and make suggestions based on information that you're doing. Like I use Canva as a tool for my images, and it definitely can help It can help make recommendations, not always the ones that I want, because it's not perfect and it's not human, friends, but it definitely can be helpful. And I think, if you kind of look back and think about the tools that you've used and how they've become enhanced to help you be more productive, it's just really kind of understanding how they do that and kind of grasping what to use and what not to use that's good for you and your business. So let's talk a little bit about constant context powered content creation. So, obviously the value in content creation is we live in a very content heavy marketing world online. And what I believe and I see and I feel is that AI helps us to be more consistent, right? So consistent content is going to help us to attract clients. It's going to help us to build our credibility and brand us as the expert. Brand awareness, where we're staying top of mind awareness for potential customers and our current ones. Also, customer engagement. And at the end of the day, the goal is to drive conversion. So content, the value of content, I was doing a training, kind of a coaching session with somebody, and we were talking about the 80-20 rule, right? So 80% education, 20% sales. It's kind of old school, I feel like. However, if you think about it, no matter what, it's 100% marketing, because even in the stage that we're educating, we are building all of these elements, right? We're branding ourselves, we're sharing our expertise, and that is marketing because we're building that know, like, and trust factor. So content, no matter how we deliver it, we are building that know, like, and trust across whatever platform you're using for your business. So kind of some of the pros of AI, it helps banish writer's block. I was talking with somebody about subject lines. Subject lines are, I think, they are definitely one of the most important elements of an email campaign, where you're trying to make sure that in that quick under 3-second decision to get somebody to open your email, that it's enticing, that it's compelling, that it's going to get them to take action. And I do think that AI helps a lot with that. It gives you other ideas. But the big thing is learning the prompts, right? What to tell it, and not take everything that comes out immediately. I teach as an adjunct professor, and this semester I'm teaching principles of marketing. And part of my weekly assignments is, in the discussion questions, I have an AI prompt. And I give them directions of what to ask AI, and then to kind of get that feedback and assess it. And it definitely, one of the biggest things, it helps them to be more creative. It definitely can help communicate more effectively. It can help improve all of your campaign impact, because it's helping you to kind of get more ideas and also kind of take a different perspective and a look at it. And at the end of the day, it saves time. I don't know about you, but when I was writing lead magnets for like guidebooks and checklists, it would take me hours, sometimes hours. And now it definitely kind of wanes down that time, because I can take this idea and this idea and this idea, and I can kind of put it together and kind of streamline all of those messy thoughts that I have of what I want to do and output. Definitely the biggest con is human touch. And I think that will never go away. You are your business. You are the face of your business. You're the voice of your business. And that means a lot. That's how you build relationships. It also makes mistakes. You have to check. When I was talking about that coaching session that I was doing with a client, one of the things is that they were doing some email marketing and they were using AI. And one of the things that they didn't look at was they didn't read it. They didn't reread it. And not only that, they didn't polish it with their human touch on that, because, it's one of those things where just because the system spits it out doesn't make it right. And so I encourage them to go back and do some research and kind of check, fact check some of the stuff that was in there, because there was clearly stuff that was not correct. And at the end of the day, it's learning how to put your input and ask it the right questions. So the way I like to look at kind of AI tools, and even within the constant contact ones, is that when you're looking and meeting with a client, you ask questions, right? Those are things that you want to kind of start thinking about your mindset when you're using AI. Ask it questions. So ask it questions, and then when it delivers something back to you, ask it more. That's what I consider a prompt. And maybe it's not labeled that way, but it's only as good as the input. You need to keep diving deeper to get what you're looking for, to get the answers and get the information that you're looking, that you can then take it and then push it, and then polish it from there. So kind of AI generated content comes in various channels. So in Constant Contact, we have a subject line. You have your subject line and your pre-header. There is a tool that's going to help you to kind of make suggestions in your email campaign, social media posts, text and SMS messages, service descriptions for products. I built an e-commerce website, and I will tell you that it definitely helped kind of give more information on products where, I can take something and I can kind of embellish it more where it's more specific and has more information for the end user. And then it also can help with blog posts and web content. Now, that being said, you also need to be mindful of SEO, search engine optimization, and also AI readers, and how that affects search. So the big thing, AI is a tool, right? How we use it and take that output and how we deliver it to the next phase is key. So you want to choose a tone to fit your message. So enthusiastic, and you want to tell your AI agent, whatever you're using, that I want it to be enthusiastic. I want it to be friendly. I want it to be, I want it to be firm. And it can help get people excited. It's great for automations when you're trying to personalize automated campaigns and get people inspired and get people enthusiastic about your messaging and also your offer and what you're delivering to them. Information, so it can definitely help with that. You can, again, take something where I use the example of e-commerce and a product, and then I took it and I put it into AI and I asked for more information. How can I make this more descriptive? How can I make it so the audience doesn't need to touch and feel this product, that they can see with their eyes from a visual capacity and understand the description in a readable way that's going to, yes, this product is for me. It's also helps with making things approachable. It's great for social media. The one thing I will say is that what I don't like about AI, and I'm going to show you on the next screen, kind of, you're going to laugh, but it overdoes emojis, and I feel like that's a little spammy to me. So that's just my personal thing. The other thing too is that social media these days is saturated with AI context. So to avoid that, you really need to use it and make sure you go back and use it as the human touch. It also can definitely, make shorter snippets out of larger descriptions and kind of the key points and keep those in play. So your goal is obviously to be a thought leader. So, these are all screenshots within Constant Contact. So you can actually, there's a social media scheduling tool, and there's a place where you can go in and you can add kind of some of your thoughts. So you can add your ideas, and then you tell it the direction you want it to go. So what type of content is it? This is actually for creating an email, sorry. And so it will help give you ideas, and then you can say informative, educational, and then all you do is you hit create, and it's going to come up with more content. So this example, inventory is low, interest rates are still high, but it's still a great time to buy or sell. So the copy comes back a lot more descriptive, right? Despite the current low inventory, high interest rates, the real estate market remains strong, and it's still a great time to buy and sell. I'm not going to read this to you verbatim, but at the end of the day, it's really taking those few ideas and making it more impactful for your audience. And then kind of the next step of creating an email, you can go in and you can make an announcement. There's lots of different choices when you're creating your email template. I'm sorry, I labeled it as the social media platform, but this is their email AI builder. And it really creates it for you. The other thing too is that I have used this AI element in Constant Contact where I have, where I've taken a blog post snippet of ideas, put it in here because I want it to be kind of a hook to get people to click to the blog. So it's going to help you with the hook. It's going to help give you the call to action. You're going to need to massage it a little, but it's going to help get you started, and it does a fantastic job. The other thing it helps do is create the social post. So you can tell it what you want it to say, just like you would in AI. So like, for example, maybe it's today's webinar. Please create, I always like use my manners. So I'm like, oh, please create, but you can talk to it however works for you. But I would say, please help me create a description with this description to get people interested and excited about AI marketing with Constant Contact. The webinar is free. It's being live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and join us at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. And then I can also ask it to give an image, or I can load an image, and then it's going to give me those posts. And then what it looks like is it comes out like this. It's going to give you it will create an AI image, or it will take your image and it's going to go in and it's going to create it based on the platform that it's creating the post for. So if it's Facebook, the tone is going to generate towards Facebook or LinkedIn. So you can kind of cater that message. And again, the one thing you want to remember about adding to AI is the more specific you can be, the more likely you're going to get the output that you're going to be interested in. And so you can kind of see here, there automatically puts in emojis. This one has less. And then this one has a lot more. So again, that's a personal preference. I do feel like it gets a little spammy and a little noisy, but that's totally up to you and what works for you. So your goal is obviously when you're creating not only on social media, when you're in your email, kind of the goal and even your headline anywhere is you want to avoid making it look spammy or getting it into the spam filter. So one of the things that Constant Contact does is it actually will check for spam. So you have the ability to go in and do the spam checker. It's going to tell you what's spammy, what's not. And typically kind of best practices before AI, too many all caps, all bold, too much exclamation like you're shouting. And then obviously you don't want to put in 20 million emojis because that also will affect it. But what it does is it will help you to also, what you can do is when you put in your subject line and you check for errors, it will come up with suggestions for subject lines. It also, if you put in a subject line, you can click make suggested subject lines, and it will come up with some other ideas. And what it does is it also checks for errors throughout your email in general. So like, for example, the subject line here has 2 notes, 6 words is great, 1 emoji, perfect. Then here, let's see, it's saying that it has 3 special characters, and that's something you want to be mindful of, right? And so special characters, let's see. Yeah, so you just want to be mindful of not too much exclamations, things like that. Then it talks about kind of when you're in your email, adding a first name to make it personalized. So it scans the emails and makes recommendations. Now, you don't have to take every recommendation. It is, you need to remember that this is a tool and you need to do what's good for you. So I don't always, like I might say, no, that doesn't work. Or just same thing with Grammarly. When Grammarly checks my grammar, sometimes it rewrites something and I'm like, no, that makes no sense to me. So just be mindful. Don't take everything that it gives you as accurate or perfect or the way. You want to make sure that it represents your voice. So again, kind of just what I said, you want to go back and make sure that it makes sense, right? Because I'm sure all of you have used AI and it spit out some interesting things, right? The other thing you want to make sure is that it sounds like you. People are going to do business with who they know, like, and trust. So you want to make sure that even though you're using AI to help you be more productive and maybe get some more creativity added to whatever you're talking about or whatever you're sharing, but make it sound like you. It should be your voice. And I know over time so like my Constant Contact for touching clients, it gets to know me. It gets to know kind of how I speak, how I email. I'm notorious for the TEH, and it understands what I say. It doesn't correct me anymore, but it definitely isn't 100% me. So make sure it sounds like you. You always want to consider who you're talking to and your target audience. And this is something that when you are creating like an email and you're putting it in your description, or you're putting a social media post together, make sure that you include your target audience, and that it understands that you're talking to people that are 50 plus, or you're talking to millennials, because the voice and the language might be a little bit different. Always check the facts, and then make it easy to skim. So like in the example that I showed you where it kind of gave that description for the real estate, it's a lot. The formatting is not great. Bullets are always going to be easier to read. Bullets are going to be easier to read in social media posts. When you're building your blogs, having bullets in parts are definitely make it a lot easier. The other thing that makes it easier is in your emails. Less is more, being specific. And then make sure that you're adjusting the length of your posts for the channel. And this is something where you might need to play with this based on your analytics and looking at the analytics on the platform, just to see who's viewing your content, who's not. All right, so let's talk a little bit about top of mind and targeted marketing. So when you can create messages that is more personalized, it's going to get you better email marketing results, without a doubt. So if you can dynamically segment based on actions and data, that is going to make a difference. So recently, I worked with a business so they have a main brand of their business, but they have kind of this small subsidiary where it's not necessarily a company at this point, but it's a small kind of like, I don't want to call it a side hustle because it's still an important part. It's just, so they have electrical here, but they do fire systems. So they kind of have this small umbrella that's a little bit outside. So what we did was we built these email campaigns based around their blogs. We did an announcement for their email telling them kind of, we have this new service. It's falls under this Apex umbrella. And then we started sharing blog posts. And what we did was in the blog posts, kind of that part of the email, we did segmentation. So when people clicked on that blog post, we started tagging them as they're interested in Apex or they're interested in electrical, and kind of building these sublists. Why do we do that? Because it helps us to better then understand the audience we're sending to. And here's the thing, their list was pretty big, but it was all over the place. And they didn't know anything really about the list other than when their sales team is in the database. And even then they weren't marking or tagging things. So by making segments in your list and kind of dialing into that, it's going to help you to be able to send dynamic content to what they're interested in. You can also have it when it's sending an email, so it only shows certain content to them. So that's a very cool thing. And although that's been available for a while, that's AI creating that. So the other thing is kind of, you can customize your greeting. So you use your merge tags. You can also use predictive analytics, which is the AI algorithms. They basically take whatever the past behavior is of the user. So this is people within your list, in your email marketing list or in your SMS marketing list. And it allows you to give predictive content or products. Also, it's going to help you by determining the optimal times to send your email. A lot of times biggest question I get asked is, when do you send your email? And kind of overall is always like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday between 10 and 3. That's kind of like the general answer that I give. However, you need to figure out what's good for your audience. So I have a client that sends one at 11 o'clock on Sundays. Every Sunday they send it at 11 o'clock. I actually have two. Every Sunday at 11 o'clock. They've trained their audience that it comes at 11. However, what's nice is because in Constant Contact, and I know other email service providers, what I can do is if I send an email today at 10 o'clock, I have the ability to resend to anybody that didn't open that email on like Friday or Monday, because today's, yeah. So let's say Friday. Today's, I'm like getting ahead of myself. It's Wednesday, Friday. And then as I do this, it's building analytics, and it's going to be able to tell me the best times to send my email. It also helps me to optimize my content with tone, and also A/B testing. So you can actually split your subject lines and split your list in half, and the system does that for you, and AI helps with that. So I can have subject line, and I can say, you know what, I want to A/B test it, use a different subject line. I can use the AI editor to make suggestions, and then it splits my list dynamically. And then I can send out the same email, but 2 different subject lines, and I can track that. And that's how AI is going to help me to target my audience and understand my audience, my email open rates more effectively. So, there is kind of all these pre-built segments within Constant Contact. So you can learn about kind of the most engaged, because it's tracking people that have opened up your emails. So this is nice because you can kind of dynamically just send emails to the people that you know that are very interested in your content. Then you could do somewhat engaged. And what's nice about this is it allows you to change your messaging and talk to your audience to build that trust, to get them, get them involved of where the level they're at. The other thing too is least engaged. This is something where list hygiene in an email, whenever you're using email marketing, is key, because a lot of times people are like, oh, well, I only have 100 contacts, or I have 100,000 contacts. That's great, but it's quality over quantity, friends. So the people that are least engaged on your list, I like to call them win back. I'm sure you've heard that term before, but that's an opportunity for you to reach out to them and create a campaign that, if they don't engage with you after 1 or 2 emails, that you're taking them off your list, that you're removing them to kind of a dormant list, that you're not going to contact them anymore, because you don't also want to over communicate to people that aren't interested in your messaging. And then you have the ability for everybody else. So when you're creating dynamic segments based on activities, basically what you're doing is kind of, here's a screenshot. So you're going to name your segment name. You get to choose kind of that or and rule, right? So they opened it, any of the last 5 emails, and they're on the general list. So that's the rule that you're setting to pull that segment. So you can kind of dial into deeper in the weeds of what your list is actually doing. Here's where you can also add what state. So if you're collecting that data in your information, and so this is where one of the things that I'm just going to mention this is that when you're collecting data on your forms, so like someone's joining your email list, or they're you have a list builder, less is usually more. So usually a first name and an email address are great to get started, because the first name, you can personalize your email, and then obviously the email address. So you might not have some of the state information. This might be something that you can collect later on. But you can also kind of dial it into state. So like if you want to dial it into zip code or birthdays or things like that, you can dial it in more. Now, Constant Contact does have integrations with like Shopify, WooCommerce. So if you are doing e-commerce, you have to collect that information when people put a credit card. So you can actually use that to pull this criteria here. And so when you're looking at dynamic content, what it does is it changes the information on who you're sending it to. So, if you have somebody that's interested in couches, if you have somebody that's interested in chairs, it's going to dynamically send that information. Now, how does that work? It's based on the data that you've collected from them over the period of time. So this is something where, especially for e-commerce, this is a fantastic solution. This is a way for you to talk to your audience. We've had it. You've gotten it to your inbox. Like you're like, oh, how did they know that I was interested in it? I was looking for a couch or a bedroom set. And the integrations that Constant Contact has with different service providers, again, just using Shopify and WooCommerce as an example, it makes a world of difference to be able to track that. So here's an example of A/B testing and kind of testing your subject lines. So when we're talking dynamic, being able to send to two different people, this is what happens. So you have your A/B testing, and so I'm using two different subject lines. You can also make it so 25%. You have the percentage rate that you can add, and then you can set a timer for how long you want to kind of figure out the analytics of what subject line makes works more effectively. And then you're going to get that in your analytics. So typically people open for the first time, they open the email usually within the first 24 hours. So just keep that in mind. But AI can help write that within Constant Contact. All right, so let's talk a little bit about marketing automation. I'm just going to look and make sure that there's no questions. Feel free to drop questions in the chat, my friends, as we go along here. I will answer them at the end. Just okay. So thinking about automated communications, like they're there, they've been there, and you have Constant Contact has expanded from a basic autoresponder to automated campaigns. So you have your new subscribers. I would encourage every one of you that if you have new people signing up, that you have a welcome email that goes out. You can tell them a little bit about your business. It personalizes. Now, of course, a lot of people know that it's an automated message. However, nothing is worse than somebody putting in their email and they get this, thank you for joining our list, but there's nothing else follow up from that. So it helps you to automate that. There is setup time, but the system will send it for you based on certain triggers. You can do birthday, you can do anniversary. You can also do abandoned carts. You can do, you can do also with email and text together if that's something of interest to you. That's something like if you're creating an event, maybe it's a paid event, you can have it send an SMS reminder, which is kind of cool. And obviously that's something they have to opt into, but you can really kind of ahead of time. So if you're pre-planning an event that's going out, say you have a big event coming in like 6 months, the good news is that, or not 6 months, 6 weeks, you can plan those emails that when somebody signs up here, they're going to get this email and tell them the details. And then as it gets a week closer, you're going to send another email and kind of getting people excited about this event. So automated emails are fantastic in helping to take pressure off of you of remembering to communicate, right? But it also keeps your end user engaged. So some of the things that you can do, and this is kind of what it looks like. So you have abandoned cart, nurture series, that win back campaign. So that's where you would take that segment that might not be as engaged with you. Also requesting a review after a sale. That's a great opportunity. Welcome, birthday, anniversary. So what you do is it's pretty simple. They have templates in Constant Contact that are built, and then you can drag and drop them, or you can create a new one for yourself. So 2 days before the birthday, and you're kind of setting a rule, and this is just an example. When they said yes to SMS, they get an SMS message. If they say no, they get an email message. So you're talking to your audience at the level that they signed up in your group. So if you are using text marketing, you can kind of set the rule. So happy birthday text, or they're getting an email. And so the system offers these things for you. And it's kind of that if-then rule. If they're subscribed to this list, yes, keep sending. Or if they haven't clicked on, so like behavior-wise too. So, you never want to send more emails than people are interested in. So if you are creating a nurture series, so you have a checklist or a guide for the 10 best subject lines, the first email, they're getting their guide, it's giving them a little information. And now you want to warm them up, right? To build that trust and make sure that they followed through with kind of reading through the guide, whatever it is. So email 2 might have some more information. It might have a little bit of information about your business or you, and then the next email. And so maybe there's 4 emails in this series. But what you can do is that if they haven't clicked on the link in email 2, and the one in email 3, or opened it, you can take them off the list. So they're not going to get email 4, because you don't want to send more emails and them to say, oh, they send too many emails. So that's what's nice about automated campaigns and kind of being able to set that up ahead of time. It definitely helps personalize your message and delivers content. And that's 24/7. You can also, there's the time zone, so you can kind of figure that out in your messaging. So typically what starts an automated campaign is what we call a trigger. It's when somebody subscribes to the list, a tag has been added to the list, they've been added to a specific segment. That segment could come from them clicking. I use the example of that email campaign. They click on their interest in Apex. I could trigger an automated campaign about Apex and what they do in their service. Anniversary, low engagement, and then down here, this is where the integrations with the commerce side of things. So Shopify and WooCommerce. So if they place an order, you can automate it. Same thing with Shopify. So there's these automated campaigns, but there's also a lot of different other integrations. And then Zapier is something that you can also use if you're using a tool that doesn't directly integrate into Constant Contact. So what's nice is the delay timer allows you to kind of save time, but so it kind of halts that content. So say they subscribe to a list, then you have them wait 5 minutes, and then it sends the email. After that email is sent, then you could have another placeholder where it's the delay timer, and this is specifically a delay. So it's based on time, not on date and time. So it's a delay timer is just on time. And maybe it's going to send at 10 tomorrow or 11 the next day. Or maybe it's 4 days from now. And then you kind of set the time from there. But what's nice is that you can also do, like if you're doing birthdays, you could put in a date timer based on the birthday. So, but what you do is when you get it set up, you start and kind of decide what you're going to do for your campaign. So like, what's the goal? Is it to run an event? And then it gives you suggestions. So these are all suggested templates, which takes the work out of you having to overthink this. And I will tell you, friends, I understand that as small business owners, you wear many hats. Templates take advantage. Templates also give practical best practices of where to put content. They give you information and then you can expand on it. But typically these templates, well, not typically, they are set up for you to be successful. And so you have attract new clients, brand awareness, donations for nonprofits, promote a service. And once you create the goal of your campaign, what you do next is you describe what the campaign is about. So if it's an event, you put in the event. So I'm using this webinar as the example. I put in the webinar, what it's about. And then it allows me 2,000 characters to put it in. Then I go to the next page and I tell them about my audience. And all customers would be everybody in my entire database, or I can target a specific criteria. So this here is based on my database. This here is for realtors in Nebraska. So I can kind of expand my reach and kind of where I'm looking to. And so this is the AI piece, because this is where it's going to help you to establish that campaign. How long am I going to market the event? Well, I'm going to start it March 18th, and I'm going to run it through April 18th. And then what happens is I go and I pick in my category of where my business falls. I tell AI what kind of business. So professional services, digital goods, physical products, nonprofit, other. And then if you click other, you put in your information. And then we talk a little bit about what's your primary source of revenue. You can put that in there. What model. And then the last thing it will ask you is, could you please provide specific details regarding the location intended scale? So this is where you would put in, if it's a virtual, maybe you would put in the link that it is. You just give AI a little bit more information about exactly what's happening. And again, we chose events. So it's walking you through these prompts. It's asking you the questions for you to give it more information. And the key, friends, is that you have 2,000 characters. So use this space to give it more information. The more information it has, the better it's going to give you output. And then you click, you click next, and it's going to start building your campaign. This is one of the greatest things that I love about Constant Contact. So we kind of went from segmentation, we went to automations, but this tool here, will create a whole campaign within Constant Contact for you. So what it does is from there, it's going to create my event landing page. It's going to give me an email announcement. It's going to give me a social media post suggested. Then it's going to tell me on March 21st, I should send out an event email reminder. And if I'm using SMS, I would send out an SMS reminder. And then it goes to March 28th, final countdown, social media post, countdown. And it also does an SMS text. So basically what it did, what the AI in Constant Contact did was it just created a campaign with suggested dates for me to send this. So it's kind of set all the hard stuff up in place. Now, I will tell you that once you have this in place, you have to go in and you need to add a little more information. You want to make sure your brand, the Constant Contact does have a brand kit, so it will default to the brand kit that you have in there. You're going to polish it, but how much time did we just take away from our kind of planning of this event and campaign? It did a lot of the hard stuff for us. Now you can add to this, you can take away from this, but it gives you a good footprint of what you need to do next. So it's a very cool tool. I've used it quite a few times and I highly recommend it. So, Constant Contact has been around for ages. The AI elements, many have already been there for a while, so it's not just brand new stuff. That AI campaign builder that I just shared with you has been around for a few years. It's gotten better. It continues to get better, and it definitely makes it a lot easier for you to build digital marketing campaigns. And within Constant Contact, there's a social media scheduler. You have your email campaigns. You have autoresponders. You have an event place where you can create events, landing pages. So it has lots of tools. It's become more, it's an affordable tool for small businesses, and it helps you to stay in touch with your clients. So, and here again is just some of the other things that it does. So it helps obviously with list growth. I forgot it does have Google and social ads that you can create in there as well. So, and you have your survey tool, which is something that you can use in your emails. You can do polls and you can also post those on social media. All right, my friends. So I do want to just give you the offer for today. So Constant Contact offers a free trial for you to take a test drive. You're welcome to scan this QR code, and they are running 40% off for 3 months if you sign up by March 31st. I'm going to put that offer here in the chat. Give me 1 second. I want to just, and let me go back to my StreamYard. Let's see. All right. That should be coming your way. And again, that expires the 40% off. So it's 40% off of 3 months, expires March 31st. They do also have a nonprofit rate if you're a nonprofit. So let's see. All right. There's a question. Can we upload video instead of text? Great question. So you can use video in the email, but it has to be on YouTube or Vimeo because and you're not going to really find an email service provider that's going to send video because of bandwidth. However, what happens is when you put it into, so you take the URL from YouTube for your video, and I've used this a lot. I'll create a video where it's just a video email in my email instead of text, exactly what you're saying. I make it unlisted so people can only see it. It's not searchable in my YouTube channel, but I load it there. And then I make sure that I put, obviously it's your personal opinion, right? So you could just have it where the video, they have to actually click on it and it does open in YouTube. I also have used it where I've put it on my website. I've embedded the YouTube video on a web page on my website. So it's going to my domain. And then they can watch it from there. So you can definitely do that, but you have to kind of use Vimeo or YouTube, and you can do it where you embed it in your website, depending upon what kind of website you have, or you can just send it to YouTube. All right. The link doesn't work. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me find out why the link doesn't work. It gave me an error message too when I, let's see. All right, give me 1 second. Thank you for letting me know that. That's annoying. So, all right. This here, it's going to be a long one. So hopefully it, here is the link. Let me know if that works. If not, if you can, what I would do is I would just encourage you to scan that QR code. Yeah, it didn't work. So I have it in Bitly and I don't know. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can, I'm going to do, okay, let me try this link. It's giving me a new link. Let's try this. 3rd time's a charge. Use this. That one should work too, that I just put in. And then it's smart. Let me take this down. And it is smart 40. It's smart start 40. Smart start 40 is the code, 40% off. Is there any other questions, friends? Perfect. Okay, thank you. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone's time today. I think one of the things we as business owners have to embrace AI as a tool and how we use it. I will say that I definitely use the subject line elements of in constant contact, and I love the new AI. And I say new, but it's not new. It's like 2 years old. And because I was actually did the first presentation on it 2 summers ago. But what I like about it is it just makes it a lot easier to create a campaign and kind of get my mind wrapped around when to send things. Cause that's always kind of the, like, should I send it in 3 days? Should I send it in this day? And the social media scheduler is great. The one thing I will tell you though, like if you're an agency or you do multiple businesses, the social media scheduling is for your business, right? So, it's one of those things where it's for your business and it's not like you can't manage multiple social media channels in the social media scheduler. So it's kind of an add-on to your email marketing and the things that you do. Is it really Canadian? I'm not sure. So it might come up whatever I'm not sure how that works for Canadian currency. I know, I'm not sure how that works. So it might automatically default because you're in Canada to your currency. I know that Constant Contact has a heavy presence in Canada, so it very well could. And I'm sorry, I don't know that. I actually haven't been asked that question and it's never come up. So, or it hasn't come up in my limited memory recollection. All right, my friends. Well, I appreciate your time today. If there's something that I can do for you, you're always welcome to reach out to me. I'm going to drop my website here. You're welcome to reach out at touchingclients.com and my email. All right. I appreciate your time. And I look forward to, drop me an email. I'd love to hear about your success. I'd also love to connect with you on Alignable or LinkedIn. And have a fabulous Wednesday, my friends. Thanks so much.